Good morning. As many of you have heard, my mom passed away in Columbia, Tennessee, late Saturday night from Alzheimer's. She was a few days away from turning 77 years old. Her celebration of life will be on November 9th in Tennessee. Thank you for all of your prayers and support for our family. In our one-year chronological Bible reading plan, we are continuing through the four Gospels. Today, we're looking at the first part of the Gospel of John. This gospel was written by one of Jesus' closest followers, the one called the disciple Jesus loved. The purpose of the book is described in chapter 20. Jesus did many other miraculous signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book. But these are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. John wrote his gospel differently than the other three gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, which share a lot of the same stories, often almost word for word. John's gospel is written more like a sermon that points to who Jesus is through signs that Jesus did. Street signs point you to places. They orient you or call your attention to something. In a way, they participate in the reality they proclaim. A sign is not the thing itself that you're looking for, but it points in that direction and helps you find it. There are 7 different signs in the miraculous signs in the Gospel of John. Jesus turned water into wine at a wedding. He healed a sick boy and a paralyzed man. He fed 5,000 people with just a few loaves and fish. He healed a blind man and raised Lazarus from the dead. Jesus' greatest sign was his own resurrection after he was crucified to take away the sins of the world. John also tells us about 7 times Jesus said, "I am," to describe himself. I am was God's covenant name he revealed to Moses, Yahweh, which means I am who I am. There are 7 other I am sayings of Jesus in the Gospel of John. I am the bread of life, the light of the world, the gate for the sheep, the good shepherd, the resurrection, the way, the truth, and the life, and I am the true vine. So why all those 7s in the Gospel of John? John, I believe, is pointing back to the creation story in Genesis 1 and 2, which describes God creating the world in 6 days and resting on the 7th, the Sabbath day. In the description of this post, I'll give you links to the Bible Project's Guide to John and a podcast that focuses on the first chapter of John, which describes Jesus as the Word of God, all the way back at the beginning of creation. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. The darkness has certainly tried to overcome the light. You've experienced it in your own life, and we see it happening all around us and all around the world. But Jesus conquered the dark forces of sin and death by letting them conquer him. He died and rose again to defeat the power of death forever. I want to close by reading you the lyrics from Andrew Peterson's song, God Rested, from his album Resurrection Letters, Prologue. It describes what happened on Good Friday and then on the Sabbath, the 7th day of Holy Week. So they took his body down. The man who said he was the resurrection and the life was lifeless on the ground. The sky was red as blood along the blade of night. As the Sabbath fell, they shrouded him in linen. They dressed him like a wound. The rich man and the women, they laid him in the tomb. 6 days shall you labor. The 7th is the Lord's. In 6 he made the earth and all the heavens, but he rested on the 7th. God rested. He said that it was finished, and the 7th day he blessed it. God rested. So they laid their hopes away. They buried all their dreams about the kingdom he proclaimed, and they sealed them in the grave, as a holy silence fell on all Jerusalem. But the Pharisees were restless. Pilate had no peace, and Peter's heart was reckless. Mary couldn't sleep, but God rested. 6 days shall you labor. The 7th is the Lord. In 6 he made the earth and all the heavens, but he rested on the 7th. God rested. He worked till it was finished, and the 7th day he blessed it. He said that it was good, and the 7th day he blessed it. God rested. The sun went down, the Sabbath faded, the holy day was done, and all creation waited. If you want to hear the song and what comes after it, listen to God Rested and the rest of the prologue, and then the Resurrection Letters album itself by Andrew Peterson. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, or whatever music service you use. Hope to see you in worship on Sunday at 8:30 or 11. Our adult class will be joining our Sunday school at 9:45 in the school gym for their Harvest Fest. We'll put together Christmas stockings for our ministry partner, Lighthouse Women and Children's Center in Niagara Falls. Have a great rest of the week.